Hi everyone in English 2351. It's our final week. We made it through even though it flew by in a lot of ways and definitely dragged on in others, but we made it and I'm so glad that we're all here and hope that we finish strong. There's a lot going on this week, but I just wanted to walk through what the expectations are and kind of show you where to go. So I'm going to pull up D2L on my screen, just follow along. Here I am in the content area, so I'm looking at the final week section in the table of contents. So here's information about the general discussion. So what I want us to do is offer those discussion questions first. In the past I've said write your response and then offer those discussion questions, but here I want you to actually start with those so that you can then kind of focus on why you created the questions, what kind of got you moving in that direction, what do you want to know about those questions, and then I want you to actually answer each of those. Okay, so one paragraph for each response there. So that's already two paragraphs, and then I want you to write 3 paragraphs here. Okay, so the first is kind of a general, what did you enjoy about the characters or text in I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter? So either focus on the characters or the text in general, or just anything you really want to kind of focus your attention on. What did you enjoy, right? What was something that kept you coming back and didn't make you feel like you had to be forced back to the text by me or by your grade? And then number 2, what was either frustrating about the characters or text in general, or if you weren't necessarily frustrated by anyone or anything in the text, what was relatable to you as a reader, right? You probably had several different places or areas that were relatable, so just work to identify those and share and be specific, like why? Why was that either a frustration to you or why was something relatable, okay? And then finally, I want us to really think about ourselves as literary critics because we are looking at literature through a critical lens. What is important about this text in the broader scheme of Mexican American literature, right? Is it something that is important for us to read? Like if I taught this course again, would you recommend using this text? Why or why not, right? What did you take away from the reading in general, right? I think most literature, especially novels or even short stories, but literature in terms of novels more broadly, there's something we want to take away or something the author wants us to take away from the text, right? That makes us continue to think about that text in specific ways. So I want you in those 3 paragraphs to really kind of push your ideas and your reading of this text. Okay, so that's the general discussion. Y'all, please make sure you're revising and editing before you are posting. So I really recommend that you compose in Microsoft Word so you can grammar and spell check, and then just copy and paste it into the discussion area. Okay, so that's the general discussion. It is worth 30 points this week, so the expectations are higher. It is the final week, right? And then the paper topic is even more intense. It's worth 50 points, okay? So this is where I really want us to draw in the idea of not only looking through this text through the lens of a literary critic, right? We're critiquing what we're reading, but I want us to draw in ideas from others, right? So I want you to either pick Anzaldúa or Moraga, right? Their pieces in our text, right? Let me pull that up. So if you look at our text for the Mexican American Literature course, right, I want you to choose either Anzaldúa, talking about border identity and theorizing what it means to live on various borders, to consciously be on different borders, or look at Moraga's Maguera and looking at identity from that perspective, right? She's talking about the privileges of lighter skin, can you connect that? But she's also not narrowly just talking about that. She goes into different topics as well. So choose one of those and then really think about and go back to Corky Gonzalez, right? I am Joaquin, right? Rodolfo Anaya, Carmen Tafoya, or Richard Rodriguez. So go back and look at those texts or any texts we've covered this semester in our main course text, and use those as well as research to support your ideas, okay? So again, either Anzaldúa or Moraga, and then one of the other people we've read this semester, okay? So for the writing, we're doing kind of the work of a larger paper that we were supposed to write, but in a smaller scope and in this online format, right? So I want us to really dig into I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, and I want you to think about what you're interested in. That's the place to start. Do you want to think about characters and characterization? Do you want to think about trends or themes? anything, right? But we need to narrow our focus because you don't just want to write generally about a whole novel in a couple of paragraphs. It's just too much information to dig into, okay? So I want you to choose one area of interest and then use those other authors to then support your ideas, okay? So essentially we're kind of working in the 5-paragraph essay format because it's just approachable for this, online forum. So what I want you to do is have that introductory paragraph, right, introducing your ideas. If you need a refresher on thesis statements, right, click to the link here and that provides you with some background and refreshers. Remember, a thesis statement is ultimately what you're working to argue in your text. It is if somebody walked up to you off the street and said, hey, what's your paper about? That's your thesis statement, right? That kind of clearly identifies what you're working to do with your paper, okay? And remember that typically those are set up in kind of the terms of an argument. You are arguing that these characters are important, or this idea in the text is important, especially when connected to other researchers or authors, so Moraga, Gonzalez, any of those people that you're choosing, okay? So that's your first paragraph. Next, 3 body paragraphs, right? If we're working with that good old 5-paragraph essay, you have the intro, 3 body paragraphs, and then a conclusion. So in those 3 body paragraphs, those are just subcategories of what you want to talk about. If you're talking about characters, then choose 3 characters, right? Or you can talk about a single character and 3 different character traits, right? If you're talking about plot developments, choose 3 different things that happen in the plot and talk about what's important about those. So you can choose anything, and anything you want to write about that you're interested in. You just need to break it down into these 3 paragraphs that support your ideas, and in each of those paragraphs you're bringing in support and research from either Anzaldúa and Moraga or those other people, one of those other people that you've chosen, okay? And then finally, you're ending with a concluding paragraph. It's just a way to tie all your ideas together. I've offered a link here if you need just some refreshers about how to close a paper, because that can be a hard part as well, just as hard as a thesis statement. So, just click on those links and just review the basics of that. It is a larger grade, so I want you to make sure you're revising, editing, doing all the work necessary to write what is essentially a small paper. I want you to make sure that when you're using your sources, which I want you to use quotes and information from your sources in every single body paragraph, right? So in those 3 body paragraphs, I should see quotes. I need you to use those quotes properly, right? So use the quotation marks, include page numbers, give credit to the authors. So I've put here another link to, if you need to kind of review how to use in-text citations or quotes, that's the MLA term for quotes. This is where you can go to kind of review how to do that properly, because that's part of your grade, okay? It is a 50-point grade, so I have high expectations. But if you have any questions as you start writing or thinking about this, just let me know or post in the Q&A discussion area, because it is a big grade. I don't want you to just kind of grasp at what you think might be the guidelines. I want you to know. So if that means getting in touch with me or posting in the Q&A discussion area, please do that, okay? There's also the area here for the Multimedia Project, right? I hope you've been thinking about that, and based on some of your discussion posts, yeah, you've been thinking about that, and I'm excited to see what you come up with. So if you click here, it just takes you to the discussion area. Remember, part of the project requires that you write a kind of mini essay, those 3 paragraphs. So go back to the guidelines. I've also posted a video about those guidelines, so just take a refresher there. And then you need to upload your project in some way, whether it is pasting a YouTube link for a video or uploading a PowerPoint document. You just need to make sure that in some way it's visible, okay? So I really suggest that once you post, you go back into the discussion area and make sure you can see your work and you can open the document, the file, the link, whatever it is. I can't grade it if I can't open it or find it, okay? So I can only grade what's there. And then finally, here's the link for the course reflection, which is essentially a quiz, but it's not high stakes in any way. It is a grade, but it's something that's based on just your feedback about the course and what I can do differently next time, or what worked well for you as a student. I want you to be honest in your feedback. Don't hold back because you think your grade might be lower because I take offense to what you say. that's not the case. You'll be given your grade based on the thoroughness of your answers, right, and the insights that you offer, but you will in no way be penalized for being honest and giving good critical feedback. Okay, so just take some time to complete that. So we have kind of staggered due dates, right? So our paper, I'm sorry, our general discussion is due on Wednesday as always. Our paper discussion is due on Friday, as always, but then thrown in there, we also have our multimedia project discussion, right? So that is going to be due on May 10th, right? It's on Sunday. And then the course reflection is also due on May 10th, which is a Sunday. But the course reflection is going to be open until the day after, just in case you need a little bit of extra time to complete that. So just make sure you're keeping these due dates and times on your mind. I don't want anybody to miss a grade. That multimedia project is a lot of points, y'all. It's 150 points, so it can definitely change your grade for the better, but I don't want it to change anybody's grade for the worse. So just keep those things in mind. I want you to know it's been a real pleasure working with you this semester. I'm sorry that circumstances changed so drastically. That was definitely out of all of our control, but my hope is that we can see each other face to face at some point in the future. And I've really just had a great time going through these texts with you and thinking about the different authors and the different developments of Mexican American literature. Y'all helped me see these texts in different ways, and I learned a lot from you. I hope you got something from the course as well. But I hope you are taking care of yourselves. I hope you and your families are doing well. And I'll be thinking about you for a long time. So hang in there. Take care.